I'm Isabella Reed, 28 years old. All my life, I craved love and recognition from my family. I imagined that on my wedding day, at the very least, my parents would stand beside me, beaming with pride as I walked down the aisle. But instead, I faced cold indifference. They dismissed my wedding as insignificant, a trivial event for someone beneath them, and chose to fly off to celebrate with my sister. Standing there in my wedding dress, searching for their faces, I instead saw them online, laughing, raising their glasses, enjoying their luxury, as if my special day meant nothing. My heart shattered in that moment. And the pain didn't end there. Just days later, they shamelessly called with another demand, as if everything they had done wasn't enough. That was when I realized, if I didn't draw a line, I would forever remain invisible in their world. Have you ever longed for your family's love and support, only to be met with coldness or rejection? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments. I truly want to hear them. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, in a middle-class neighborhood where appearances mattered above all else. My parents, Joseph and Ruth, built their lives around looking successful. The house was always immaculate, the lawn perfectly trimmed, and every holiday card painted the picture of a flawless family. But behind that facade, it was obvious who the star was: my sister, Cheryl, the golden child. She embodied everything my parents dreamed of: charming, ambitious, destined for greatness. By high school, they were already boasting about her future as a lawyer. Me? I was the quiet one, the kid who loved sketching and imagining designs. My passion for art didn't fit their vision of success, so it was dismissed. I still remember showing my dad a colorful cityscape I'd drawn. He glanced at it, muttered, "That's nice, Isabella," and immediately went back to talking about Cheryl's debate team. That became the pattern of my childhood. Her victories were celebrated, mine barely noticed. When I was 10, I won a school art contest and proudly brought home the certificate, hoping to shine in their eyes. My mom only nodded and said, "Good job," before turning to hang Cheryl's medals on the living room wall. Meanwhile, they threw a huge party for Cheryl's graduation, inviting neighbors to celebrate her college acceptance. My straight A's earned nothing more than a pat on the back. As we grew older, the favoritism became even clearer. Cheryl got a new laptop for her tournaments. I got a hand-me-down sketchpad. My parents drove hours to watch her competitions, but when I had my first art show at 14, they were too busy with work. I stood alone in the school gym, my drawings pinned to a corkboard, while other kids' parents snapped photos with pride. That night, I overheard my mom telling a neighbor, "Cheryl is going places." High school brought more of the same. Cheryl was away at college collecting awards in pre-law, and my parents couldn't stop bragging. They put her on speakerphone during dinner to gush about her internships. I tried to share that I'd been accepted into an art program at a local gallery, but my dad cut me off. "That's great, but did you hear about Cheryl's offer from a law firm?" My dreams were invisible. The only person who truly encouraged me was my art teacher, who constantly pushed me to pursue design when my parents wouldn't. When Cheryl came home for breaks, it was a full-blown celebration. My parents cleared their schedules, cooked her favorite meals, and hung on her every word. Meanwhile, I was asked to clean up. Once, I overheard my mom telling Cheryl, "You're our ticket to a better life." I sat on the stairs clutching one of my designs, realizing I wasn't their priority. I was barely seen. By senior year, I stopped chasing their approval. I poured everything into my portfolio and, with my teacher's help, earned a scholarship to study graphic design. My parents simply said, "That's nice, but be practical." Yet they had no hesitation taking out a loan for Cheryl's law school, calling it an investment in the family. At 18, I finally got my first real break. A gallery in Toledo invited me to exhibit my work. It was everything I had dreamed of. I sent my parents an invitation, hoping they'd show up. They didn't. Instead, they threw another party for Cheryl's law school acceptance. I stood in that gallery, surrounded by strangers who admired my art, feeling proud yet hollow. The pride I had longed for from my family was nowhere to be found. That night, I decided I would no longer chase their validation. I would build my own future, whether or not they ever cared to see it. Leaving home for college felt like a fresh start. I enrolled at a university in Ohio, majoring in graphic design, determined to carve my own path. Early on, I met Michael Foster, a teaching assistant in my intro to art class. He was kind, quietly confident, and he recognized potential in my work. We spent hours discussing design trends, and he pushed me to refine my projects. Around the same time, I met Nicole Hayes, a photography major with sharp wit and endless energy. She became my closest friend, always ready to critique my sketches or drag me to art events. With Michael and Nicole, I finally felt like I belonged. My first year was tough but exhilarating. I pulled all-nighters perfecting logos and layouts, driven by a need to prove myself. My professors noticed, and one connected me with a local design studio for an internship. By my junior year, I was juggling classes and freelance gigs creating branding for small businesses. It wasn't glamorous, but every project felt like a step forward. I'd send my parents updates, hoping they'd care. They didn't. My mom called once, not to ask about my work, but to check if I was keeping up socially compared to my sister, Cheryl. Apparently, Cheryl was thriving in law school, interning at a prestigious firm. Joseph and Ruth never missed a chance to remind me how she was setting the family up for success. In my senior year, I landed a big break, a contract to design a campaign for a regional advertising agency. It was my first real taste of professional success. I spent months crafting visuals, tweaking every detail, until it was perfect. When the campaign launched, it earned praise in a local industry blog, my name attached to it. I was over the moon, thinking maybe now my parents would see my worth. I emailed them a link to the article, expecting at least a congratulations. Instead, my dad replied, "That's nice, but have you talked to Cheryl? She's working on a big case." My heart sank. I showed Nicole the email, and she just shook her head. "They don't deserve you." Michael was different. He celebrated every milestone, no matter how small. When I showed him the campaign, he took me out for coffee and spent an hour asking about my creative process. He wasn't just supportive, he got it. We started dating that year, and his belief in me made me bolder. I took on bigger projects, like rebranding a chain of local coffee shops. The work was demanding but rewarding. By graduation, I had a portfolio that landed me a full-time job at a mid-sized agency in Toledo. I was 22, building a career I loved, and I thought my parents might finally take notice. Nicole became my lifeline. We'd meet at a diner near campus, where she'd rant about how unfair my parents were. "You're killing it, Isabella," she'd say, slamming her coffee mug down. "They're too blind to see it." She pushed me to focus on my own goals, and I did. I took on more freelance work, designing websites for startups and posters for local festivals. Each project built my confidence, and I started caring less about my parents' approval. But deep down, it still hurt. I wanted them to see me just once the way they saw Cheryl. By my mid-20s, I was thriving. My agency promoted me to lead designer on a major account, a national retailer needing a full rebrand. It was a 6-figure contract, a huge deal for someone my age. I called my parents, hoping this would finally be the moment they acknowledged me. My mom picked up, sounding distracted. I told her about the project, my voice shaking with excitement. She paused, then said, "That sounds like a lot of work. Have you checked in with Cheryl? She's been so busy." I hung up, stunned. That was the last time I tried to share my success with them. That call pushed me to focus on the life I was building with Michael. After that final call with my mom, I poured my energy into building a life with Michael. One evening, as we strolled along the Maumee River, Michael proposed with a simple ring, his eyes full of hope. I said yes, my heart soaring. We planned a small wedding at a riverside restaurant in Toledo, a place we cherished for its warm ambience. I spent months designing the invitations, each stroke of my pen filled with love. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to hope my family would show up. Maybe this milestone would finally matter to them. I sent invitations to my parents, Joseph and Ruth, and my sister, Cheryl. I called to confirm, my voice shaky, as I left a voicemail for my mom. It would mean everything if you could come. My dad texted back, "We'll try to make it." I clung to that faint promise, convincing myself they'd be there. Cheryl was caught up in her own engagement to Jeffrey Coleman, her entrepreneur fiancé, and didn't respond. I kept hoping she'd at least acknowledge it. Days before the wedding, my mom called. I braced myself, expecting questions about the ceremony. Instead, she said, "Isabella, we're not coming. This is a trivial event for someone at the bottom, and we're busy with Cheryl's engagement." Her words cut deep. I asked what she meant, my voice breaking. She explained they were flying to Hawaii to celebrate Cheryl's engagement. "It's a big moment for us," she added, dismissing my wedding like it was nothing. I hung up, hands shaking. Michael held me as I cried, promising we'd make the day ours. The wedding day came, and I walked down the aisle in a dress I had designed, feeling Michael's steady gaze. Nicole was there, snapping photos and cheering louder than anyone. Michael's parents, George and Diane Foster, embraced me like their own, their kindness softening the sting of my family's absence. But as I stood at the altar, I couldn't help glancing at the empty chairs meant for my parents and sister. It hurt, but I focused on Michael's vows, letting the love in the room carry me. The reception was filled with laughter and warmth from friends and Michael's family. I felt cherished, yet a part of me still longed for my parents' presence. That night, after the final dance, I checked my phone, hoping for a message from them. Instead, a social media notification from my mom made my stomach drop. It was a video from Hawaii. Joseph, Ruth, Cheryl, and Jeffrey on a beach, laughing and holding tropical drinks under swaying palms. The caption read, "Celebrating our star's engagement in paradise." Cheryl beamed next to Jeffrey while my parents grinned carefree. Not a word about my wedding. I watched the video again, each frame searing into me. They hadn't just skipped my day. They had broadcast their choice to the world. Nicole found me staring at my phone, tears streaming down my face. "They don't get to hurt you like this," she said, wrapping me in a hug. Michael joined us, his face tight as he saw the video. "You're worth more than this," he said. George and Diane offered to reach out to my parents, but I shook my head. I didn't want their apologies. I wanted them to care, but they didn't. The next day, I replayed the video, trying to understand why they'd chosen this. Cheryl hadn't even sent a text. My parents hadn't called to check in. They had picked a lavish trip over their daughter's wedding, and that video was their boast. I felt like nothing to them, like all my efforts to shine meant zero. But sitting with Michael, his hand in mine, I realized I couldn't let their rejection break me. I had a family. A week after the wedding, I tried to focus on my new life with Michael, settling into our apartment in Toledo. But then my phone rang. It was my dad, Joseph. His voice was clipped and businesslike. "Isabella, we need to talk about the loan," he said. I froze, confused. He explained that he and Ruth expected me to contribute to a loan they'd taken out years ago, supposedly for my college tuition to help cover Cheryl's upcoming wedding. "It's only fair," he added. Since Cheryl's event was a big deal for the family, I was stunned. My sister, who hadn't even bothered to text me about my wedding, expected me to pay for hers? I took a deep breath. "What loan?" I asked. Joseph claimed it was a $20,000 loan from my college days, supposedly covered by them. His tone implied I owed them, as if my wedding hadn't mattered, but Cheryl's was worth my money. I told him I'd look into it, and hung up, my heart pounding. Michael, sitting nearby, saw my face. "What's wrong?" he asked. I explained, and he shook his head. "They can't keep doing this to you." That night, I pulled out my old financial records, digging through folders I hadn't touched in years. Every payment for my college loans was there, paid on time every month, straight from my own account. I had worked freelance gigs and extra shifts at the agency to cover them without their help. There was no outstanding debt tied to Joseph or Ruth. Their claim was a lie, a ploy to guilt me into funding Cheryl's lavish wedding. The next day, I called my dad back. My hands were steady, my voice sharp. "I checked the records," I said. "My loans were paid in full, on time by me. There's no debt." He sputtered, insisting I must have misunderstood. "Cheryl's wedding is important," he said. "You should want to help your sister." I could hear Ruth murmuring agreement in the background. That's when it hit me. They would never see me as equal. They had dismissed my wedding as trivial and now expected me to bankroll Cheryl's, as if my life was just a footnote to hers. I thought of that video from Hawaii. Their laughter, their complete disregard for me. I thought of Ruth's words, calling my wedding a trivial event for someone at the bottom. Anger surged, but I kept my voice cold. "Don't contact me about trivial matters," I said, throwing her words back at them. There was silence on the other end. Joseph started to argue, but I cut him off. "I'm done," I said, and hung up. My heart raced, but I felt a weight lift. For the first time, I wasn't begging for their approval. I was taking back my power. I told Michael everything, and he pulled me into a hug. "You did the right thing," he said. I called Nicole next, needing her perspective. She was furious on my behalf. "They're unbelievable," she said. "You don't owe them a dime." George and Diane, Michael's parents, came over that evening. When I shared what happened, Diane reached for my hand. "You're family to us," she said. "You don't need their validation." Their support grounded me, reminding me I wasn't alone. But the call lingered in my mind. Joseph hadn't just asked for money. He had tried to rewrite my past, claiming I owed them for a debt I had already paid. It wasn't just about money. It was about control, about keeping me in the shadow of Cheryl's spotlight. I thought about reaching out to Cheryl, hoping she'd at least explain. But her silence during my wedding had already told me everything. She was complicit, happy to let our parents prioritize her while I was left to clean up their demands. That night, I sat down with Michael, going through our wedding photos. Nicole had captured every moment. My smile, Michael's vows, the joy of our chosen family. I realized I didn't need Joseph, Ruth, or Cheryl to define my worth. I had built a career, a marriage, a life, all on my own terms. Their attempts to pull me back into their drama only strengthened my resolve to move forward without them. Standing firm against Joseph's audacious demand had been a turning point. Exhausted but resolute, I decided to cut off all contact with them. It wasn't a rash decision. It was necessary to protect my peace. I started therapy with Dr. Pamela Scott, whom Nicole had recommended. Her calm presence and sharp insight made it easier to open up. I poured out years of being overshadowed, the pain of my wedding, and Joseph's audacity. She listened, nodding. "You've been carrying their expectations far too long," she said. "Setting boundaries is about reclaiming your life." Her words hit home. She suggested drafting a formal email to make my decision clear, something I could control without their interruptions. Michael was my rock through it all. We sat at our kitchen table, his hand on mine as I drafted the email. "You don't owe them anything," he said. "Write what you need to say." Nicole came over, bringing her usual fire. "They've had enough chances," she said, pacing our living room. "This is about you now." Their support gave me the strength I needed. I spent hours crafting the email, making every word reflect my resolve. Addressed to Joseph, Ruth, and Cheryl, it read, "Your actions have shown where I stand in your lives. From years of favoritism to dismissing my wedding and demanding money for Cheryl's, you've made your priorities clear. I'm done carrying the weight of your expectations. Do not contact me again." Dr. Scott suggested adding one final line to reinforce my boundary. "Any future attempts to reach me will be ignored." I did, feeling a sense of control I'd never had with them before. Sending the email was terrifying. My finger hovered over the button, heart racing. Michael leaned close. "You're doing this for you." I hit send. A wave of relief washed over me. I blocked their numbers and social media accounts to seal the boundary. Nicole hugged me tightly. "You're free now." Dr. Scott praised my courage in our next session. "You've chosen yourself," she said. "That's powerful." The days afterward were strange. I kept expecting calls or messages, some attempt to pull me back, but none came. Cheryl, silent through my wedding, remained silent. Joseph and Ruth did not respond. Their absence confirmed what I'd always known. They didn't value me. It hurt, but it also freed me. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I leaned on Michael, who reminded me daily that I was enough. Nicole kept me grounded, dragging me to art galleries to keep my creativity alive. George and Diane, Michael's parents, stepped up in ways I hadn't expected, inviting us over for dinner and treating me like family. Diane shared stories of her own struggles. "Sometimes you have to let go to move forward," she said. Their warmth filled a void I'd carried for years. With their support, I began to see my worth beyond my family's rejection. Dr. Scott helped me process the guilt that crept in, reminding me that boundaries weren't selfish, they were self-preservation. I threw myself into work, taking on new design projects to channel my energy. Each logo I created, each campaign I led, felt like proof of my strength. Nicole noticed the change. "You're glowing, Isabella. They can't dim that." Michael and I began planning our future together, a home, maybe kids, without the shadow of my family's drama. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried since childhood. Cutting contact wasn't just about walking away, it was about rebuilding. Dr. Scott encouraged journaling, helping me process anger, sadness, and hope. I wrote about the life I was building with people who saw me, who valued me. That was enough. Letting go of my family lifted a tremendous weight, but it sent ripples through their world. Joseph and Ruth faced backlash they hadn't anticipated. Our extended family, aware of their absence at my wedding and Joseph's loan claim, began to pull away. My cousin Mary was the first to speak up. She'd always been close, and when she learned about Hawaii and the loan, she was livid. "They've always put Cheryl first," she said over coffee in Toledo. "But that's shameful." Mary stopped inviting them to family gatherings and others followed. Aunts and uncles, once neutral, began declining their calls. Joseph and Ruth's reputation in our tight-knit community took a hit. Neighbors whispered about their selfishness, and their social circle began to shrink. Cheryl, meanwhile, faced her own fallout. Her engagement to Jeffrey Coleman, the one my parents had celebrated so loudly, hit a rough patch. Jeffrey's family, who valued fairness, questioned Cheryl about why her family had skipped my wedding for a Hawaii celebration. "It's not right," his mother said sharply. Cheryl tried to defend her parents, but Jeffrey later admitted to Mary that it caused tension. He began seeing Cheryl's role in the family dynamic differently, questioning her silence during my wedding. What had once seemed like a solid relationship now strained under the weight of these revelations. Mary kept me updated, sharing every piece of news with a quiet gleam of satisfaction. "They thought they could get away with it," she said one day. I didn't gloat, but a sense of quiet justice settled over me. Their actions had consequences, and I wasn't the one enforcing them. Dr. Scott helped me process the feelings swirling inside me. "You set a boundary and the world is responding," she said. "That's not your burden. It's theirs." While their lives unraveled, mine bloomed. Michael and I were building a home together filled with love and laughter. One evening, as we sat on the couch, he took my hand. "I think we're ready for the next step," he said. Soon after, I discovered I was pregnant. Joy unlike anything I'd known filled me. Nicole was the first I told. She squealed and insisted on planning a baby shower. "You're going to be the best mom," she said, hugging me tightly. George and Diane were overjoyed, already knitting tiny blankets and offering to babysit. My pregnancy became a new focus. I spent hours designing the nursery, sketching patterns for the walls. Work was thriving too. I landed a major contract with a local company, my designs earning praise across Toledo. Every success felt like a step further from the shadow of my family's rejection. Michael and I took walks along the river, dreaming about our child's future. "They'll grow up knowing they're loved," he said, hand resting on my growing belly. That promise grounded me. Mary visited often, becoming a sister in a way Cheryl never had. She'd bring baby clothes, share stories of our extended family's shifting dynamics, and remind me that fairness has a way of coming to light. Joseph even tried to explain himself at a reunion, but no one bought it. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. My focus was on the life I was building, not the one I'd left behind. Nicole and Dr. Scott kept me centered, reminding me to celebrate my strength. "You've created something beautiful," Dr. Scott said. And she was right. As my due date approached, I felt a sense of completeness I hadn't known before. Michael and I attended parenting classes, laughing at our clumsy attempts to swaddle a doll. George and Diane hosted small gatherings, their warmth a stark contrast to the coldness of my birth family. I realized I had found something better, a chosen family who truly valued me. Joseph, Ruth, and Cheryl were fading into the background, their lives marked by the consequences of their choices. I didn't wish them ill, but I didn't miss them either. That peace I found after letting go of my family became the foundation for my new life. Holding our newborn daughter, I felt a love so deep it reshaped my understanding of family. Michael and I named her Emma, a name chosen for its simplicity and warmth. As I looked into her tiny eyes, I realized the journey I'd taken wasn't just about escaping pain. It was about discovering who I was and what truly mattered. The lessons I learned through years of rejection, boundaries, and rebuilding are ones I carry every day. Growing up, I thought family was an obligation, a tie you couldn't break no matter how much it hurt. Joseph and Ruth's favoritism, their dismissal of my milestones, and their demands taught me otherwise. Family isn't about blood, it's about love and respect. When they chose Cheryl's engagement over my wedding, when they demanded money, I didn't know them. I saw their true priorities. Cutting them off wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Setting boundaries meant valuing myself, something I had struggled with for years. Dr. Scott helped me see that self-acceptance isn't selfish, it's survival. My chosen family became my strength. Michael, my husband, stood by me through every tear and triumph. His unwavering support showed me what love truly looks like. And now, holding Emma in my arms, I knew I had finally built the family I had always deserved. Nicole, my best friend, brought light to my darkest days, pushing me to keep creating and keep growing. George and Diane, Michael's parents, welcomed me as their own, proving that family can be built, not just born. Mary, my cousin, became the sister Cheryl never was, her loyalty a reminder that I wasn't alone. Even Dr. Scott, with her steady guidance, helped me rebuild my sense of worth. These people taught me that family is who shows up, who sees you, who stays. Holding Emma, I knew I'd give her the love I had craved as a child. Michael and I promised to raise her with kindness, to celebrate her for who she is, not who we want her to be. My career flourished as well, with new design projects pouring in, each one a testament to my resilience. I didn't need Joseph, Ruth, or Cheryl to validate me anymore. Their absence left a mark, but it didn't define me. I had built a life filled with purpose and joy, surrounded by people who chose me back. Now, I want to hear from you. We all have stories of family, of hurt, of healing. Maybe you've had to walk away from someone you loved. Or maybe you've found a chosen family who lifted you up. Share your story in the comments. How did you overcome family wounds? What did you learn about yourself? Your experiences could inspire someone else to take that first step toward healing. I read every comment, and I'm here to listen, just as you've listened to me. This journey taught me to let go of what doesn't serve me and hold tight to what does. Self-acceptance means knowing your worth, even when others don't see it. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors to a better life and a truer family. It's not about who you're born to, but who you choose to build with. Michael, Emma, Nicole, Mary, George, and Diane, they're my family built on love and respect. That's the legacy I want for my daughter, and it's the lesson I hope you take from my story. Looking back, I'm grateful for the pain because it led me here. I'm not the girl who begged for approval anymore. I'm a wife, a mother, an artist, a woman who knows her value. If you're struggling with family, know this. You don't have to stay in a place that hurts you. You can choose yourself, find your people, and build a life that feels like home. Share your story below, and let's lift each other up. That's what family, true family, does. This is my story, and I am stronger for it.